What's up, Foundation Nation? Today we are doing a disc review of the Discraft Thrasher. This is a disc that I think is a little underrated in their lineup potentially. I don't see a ton of people throwing it, but it's a disc that has some incredible uses. We did a run a few years back of these, and I've had it in my bag. Hunter used to throw them a ton. They're a really solid disc. I've got the Z one right here, and then I've got this ESP Swirl Missy Gannon Tour Series. This is like the only disc Missy Gannon throws. So if you're a fan of her game, you like this disc. These are 12.5, -3.2 is the flight numbers they give this disc. So meant to be understable. It's listed as that 12 speed, but it doesn't have a ton of width in the hand, honestly. It feels closer to an 11 in my opinion, but we're gonna give them both a toss here on the backhand. I'll give them a little bit of hyzer and we'll see what they do. I think I might have pulled up out of that one a little bit, but clearly lots of turn, lots of huge shot potential here, and there's also a slight headwind, so keep that in mind. I'll give this one a little bit more hyzer. Definitely threw that one too low. You can tell already that this disc is quite understable, so I'm gonna need to try throw some with some more height to get a full flight and show you what they actually can do. All right, this time we're gonna try and hit this with a bit more height. Try to get more of a full flight out of it. See if I can make it work for me. Okay, so more nose up, a lot of hyzer, and now with a little bit of a tailwind going back, definitely makes this disc a lot more agreeable in those conditions. So I think this is just gonna be the type of disc where you got to hit it right. You know, anytime you have a really understable disc, unless you're throwing a roller, you have to find the right angle and slot and nose angle and everything to actually hit it to go work out. That one kind of just got the flat, stalled, and then faded. I'll try and go a little more nose down with the next one. All right, let's see if we can get like a really good hyzer flip to turn line out of this one. There it is. Yeah, okay. So there we go. That time, hit it with the perfect nose angle and hyzer amount that I got it to flip up, turn, coast, and then fade at the end, a good distance line. I think that's kind of what I'm seeing for this disc. Is it seems to be a very easy disc to get hyzer flips out of, maybe like a beginner distance driver type slot. And I think for the more advanced player, you might see this as more of a roller disc, but we'll give it a few more chucks. So I think I've seen most of what I need to see out of the Thrasher here, but I'm gonna go ahead and give this a nice high turnover. I think that's another useful shot you can throw with this disc. Just get it way up in the air and trust that it's gonna turn to the right, because sometimes you need a disc with a lot of understability if you wanna try and throw that shot confidently knowing that it won't stall on you. Perfect. Wow, yeah, even got down a cut roll. This is a very understable disc. Got it up there with not a ton of anhyzer, just threw it hard and high, and that thing set its angle on anhyzer and just followed it the whole way down. Didn't want to really pan out of it. I think this is a disc that if you start flat or on anhyzer, unless you're going high, you're getting a roller. With arm speed comparable to mine, with a newer player, somebody who's newer to the 12-speed type disc, you might see different flights, but in my arm range, which is, I would say, you know, let's just call it 400 foot worth of power, that's what you're gonna see is it's more of a hyzer flip disc. We're gonna go ahead and rip this on a forehand because I don't have a crazy amount of forehand power, so I suspect that this could be a disc that I would like for the forehand, because typically I like to go with something that has a little more understability. So I'm gonna go ahead and rip this out kind of flat with a little bit of height and just see what kind of turn I can get out of it on the forehand. Yeah, so I mean, not the most crispy release. I'm not a great forehand player, but it was very forgiving. It had a little bit of wobble out of my hand and a little bit of nose up, but it was still able to turn and get a full flight out of it. So I think that could be a great use for this disc if you're somebody like me who doesn't have a crazy amount of forehand power. You can kind of just toss it out there and focus on getting it out on a good angle and let the disc work for you. I think that's something that people overlook a lot of times with understable distance drivers, is their ability to be good forehand discs, if that's something that you lack like myself. All right, we're gonna do a couple more shots here for the Thrasher. I think I've kind of shown what it's about, but I'm just gonna give it some like extreme hyzer throws and just kind of see what kind of line I get out of it. That's kind of neat. Try a little higher. There we go. That's a cool shot. That was sweet. Okay, yeah, so here's the thing about the Thrasher from Discraft. I think this is a very versatile disc. I mean, I remember when I was bagging it for a little bit, when Hunter was bagging when he was bagging it for a while. Once you get past like the 400-foot amount of like arm speed, that kind of threshold, this disc becomes more of a touchy disc. You can throw some extreme hyzer flip to turn lines. You can get some really cool big turnovers out of it, and it's a fantastic roller disc because it's very easy to get to the ground. But that's definitely where it sits for players with that kind of arm speed or above. More of a touchy finesse type disc. Still plenty of uses, but just a little bit different. Where I think this disc is probably marketed and can really, really thrive for people is probably anybody from that 250, probably more like the 300 to 375 arm speed range. I think at that range, you're gonna get a lot, like a hyzer flip to flat with maybe just a little bit of turn. You're gonna be able to throw really nice long turnovers. I think that's really the target market for this disc, and I think it would be a great way to kind of introduce yourself to the 12 speed and above type driver, because it's very comfortable in the hand. It's not super wide, and you're gonna get very forgiving flights out of it just with the way it's designed. So if you haven't checked out the Thrasher, and especially if you kind of sit in that 300 to 375 range distance-wise, I think this could be a fantastic disc for you, a way for you to get really easy distance and also try out some really cool shot shapes. And even if you do throw harder than that, I think there's a lot of uses as well. You can get some really cool shot shapes. I think having a flippy disc in your bag at that speed is a very useful one. That's one that I always make sure I have covered. But other than that, that's been the review of the Discraft Thrasher. You can check that out at foundationdisc.com. We almost always have those in stock. And we'll see you in the next one.